Welcome to North of the Broad. I'm your host, Karen Wyman, coming to you from higher ground on Ladies Island. I'm joined this afternoon by Beaufort Mayor Billy Kaiserling. Welcome to the show, Billy.
Thank you for having me, Karen.
I'm glad that you're here. We have a lot to talk about. I know that one of the things that you're passionate about as the mayor and as a citizen of Beaufort in South Carolina is the environment. Mm-hmm. It's something that you've been very outspoken about. And recently, we've had some potential legislation come up that would seriously impact the community of Beaufort and the South Carolina shores. So one thing that recently happened is that the Secretary of Interior announced a 5-year plan for seismic testing and offshore drilling. Mm-hmm. Very quickly after that announcement was made, the state of Florida became exempt from that. Right. What would it take for South Carolina to become exempt and get that same status?
It would take for our governor, who is opposed to offshore drilling, our 3 congressmen who are opposed to offshore drilling, to convince the other 4 congressmen and our 2 senators to be against offshore drilling, because Florida came with a united front. They came quickly, and they had really no choice. But when you have your whole congressional delegation, your 2 senators and your governor saying this is bad for us, if South Carolina could come that strong. The problem we face is that so many people in South Carolina think regionally, or they think, and so they say, well, that's the coast's problem.
And that doesn't impact me.
That's right. They don't think about the number who come to the beach here. They don't think about the number who come down from the inland to go shrimp baiting or to go fishing or shrimping or crabbing or vacationing here. And so they've got to think that this is part of the state. And when you're talking about a $20 billion tourism industry and 600,000 jobs, what's the rest of the state going to do if the state if they lose that?
Well,
to the threat.
We need to be able to have the ability to look beyond what just affects anybody in their own region and how, as a state, obviously we're all in this together. The difference, I would assume, in the state of Florida is that, you know, there almost isn't a place in Florida where you don't have access to coastline or waters, and so obviously
this is also about big money. I hate to say it, but you know, it's now in South Carolina. It's, you know, this is our 2nd time. During the Obama administration, they approved pretty much the same thing for the East Coast. Mm-hmm. They didn't go around west where this administration has gone. And we fought. We got all 30 coastal mayors, we got county councils, we got hundreds, tens of thousands of businesses. We then joined with North Carolina, with Virginia, with Delaware. We got 300 communities, and the Obama administration said the people don't want it. They got rid of it. What is under all the headlines right now is that there are 6 permits to start testing, notwithstanding what the president said, that are working their way through the process. And I've seen and looked at all 5 of the 6 come within 3 miles of our coastline.
Too close.
Too close.
Definitely too
and
close.
So a group of mayors that I've been working on for the last 2 weeks, 10 of us along the coast, are working on a lawsuit to try to stop that. So then we have the long-term issue of the 5-year plan, but then we have the question of really trying to convince our congressional delegation and our state. I was going to testify this week before a Senate committee. They want to have an advisory referendum on whether or not we should have safe drilling of oil. Well, you know, that's sort of an oxymoron.
Right.
We've
safe
proven
for who?
that it's, you know, as safe as they try to be, and we want them to be safe. There are problems with it. And to take our primary election and the thought of big oil companies coming in here and spending money, or under Citizens United, individuals, some of the, I don't want to name names because I don't want to be partisan, but some of the individuals who can put $10 million, our whole primary could be turned into a referendum on oil, rather than selecting our next governor, our next lieutenant governor, our next what have you. So we're fighting that battle on 4 fronts. The bottom line is I feel very comfortable. Beaufort, Port Royal, Hilton Head have all passed resolutions the first time around. We've all agreed to join the lawsuit, which a nonprofit is paying for. It doesn't cost us anything. We'll have 6 to 10 other cities with us. Charleston's already done it. Edisto's working on it. Isle of Palms, Sullivan's Island. So, you know, it's just all-consuming to those, and every time you look around, there's sort of another front.
Place that needs to plug the gap.
As an assault on the environment, this happens to be our piece of the environment, as others have it elsewhere.
Definitely.
We could talk for weeks about it, but I know time is
Well, the
short.
couple things that I do want the viewers to know is that you have written a newsletter about municipalities and suing the Interior over permits. Can you talk specifically about what those permits are, and the time we have left, what they would, if they were to be passed, would allow?
They go through the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, BOEHM. But they're at a stage now where they're with the National Fisheries Service. And they call it an incidental hazard approval. And it basically gives the right to the size, it acknowledges and gives to the right to the seismic testers the fact that they could have an impact on the, assuming a marine fisheries, which is also political, agrees to approve that, that's when we will intervene and try to get a restraining order to stop it until we can get up the line and fight the substance of the permit.
There's a lot going on here. I know you have a lot to share. People can find out more information by visiting your website.
You can come to mayorbilly.com.
mayorbilly.com.
You can email me at billyk@ISLC. Stop me on the street. Call me
and
over.
just say, hey, Billy, I want to talk to you about. But thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We really appreciate it. I know that there's a lot more to cover, and we only have a short time together. But thank you so much, Billy, for your standing up.
Happy to do it, and just grateful to the community, Hilton Head, Port Royal, Beaufort, all standing up as local governments to do what's right for the people who are here.
Wonderful. We'll be right back with our next guest on North of the Broad.